Falcon and the Winter Soldier, Episode 4. There are only 6 episodes in the show, so we only got 2 more episodes left to go, which is crazy that the show has already flown by that fast. I felt like I enjoyed WandaVision a lot more, not just because there was more episodes, but it felt like more people were talking about it and excited about it. I think that shows the difference in the shows. When you make a generic show, less people talk about it. And then when you try something different, even if it doesn't work out, more people will talk about it. And I think that's kind of the sad thing about this show. I don't think this show is a terrible show, but I don't think it's exciting a lot of people. I don't think it's engaging a lot of people. And I think it's kind of. I know that every review of the show I make, I'm comparing it to WandaVision, but that's just because WandaVision is kind of what I wanted out of the show. Like, I didn't want this show to be exactly WandaVision, but I wanted this to be a different show with an interesting format, or do something weird and interesting that would engage me. Like, I don't know what they could have done with these characters, but that's why I think it shouldn't have been made. The story they're showing us here isn't that interesting. Now, granted, this is my favorite episode out of the 4, because of the direction of this episode, which was spot on. A lot of the action in this episode was really engaging. I think for most of the show, the action's been okay, but this was the first action scene, besides the action scene in the first episode, where I was like, yes, I'm excited about this. Woo, this is engaging. I'm gripped to the edge of my seat. Like, that's how I feel about this episode. It moved the story along, introduced, develop the characters in a way that was more interesting. I really liked this episode. I think it was a solid episode. I think it's the best of the 4 episodes, but it's kind of like I'm still at episode 4 and I'm still not excited to know where the show's going to end. WandaVision, I was about episode 3 and I was excited to get to the end of the show. Like, I was there, I was like, okay, you got me. I'm going to come back every week, check in, see what's happening, speculate, think about what's happening. I was showing the show to other people because it was exciting me so much, and I wanted to show them the excitement I was feeling because the show was just that good. But this is just like, I mean, it's fine. If you're an MCU fan, I guess check it out, but that's it. Like, it's kind of like, I'm like, here's your homework for the MCU. If you're an MCU fan, here's some extra credit work you can do to check out this. And I don't really care about these characters. They're not interesting. Bucky and Sam are really good side characters. In the comics, they're interesting. They're well developed, good characters for the most part, anyways. Depending on which run of the characters, of course. But it's kind of like, I like those characters more in the comics because they're just more developed and they're more interesting, and they aren't just set up as the Captain America sidekick. I like some of the themes we're exploring here about, what does the shield mean? It's a symbol. What does that mean? Kind of stuff like that. I like that idea of the show, but for the most part, it's kind of like, I don't know. But hey, 2 more episodes left to go, 2 more weeks, and then we won't have any Marvel content until June. We're gonna have Loki, and we're gonna have Black Widow coming up pretty soon. But that's gonna be a whole month off from Marvel content, which is kind of interesting. But yeah, we'll see how that turns out. But yeah, I'm really enjoying this show a bit more now, but I'm not too excited about it. But Invincible still got my mind, and it's really engaging me. I'm really into Invincible, and I think that's another thing about the show is like, it's caught in the crossfires of me watching two very different, interesting shows. Like, Invincible was a very good, interesting, different type of superhero show. WandaVision was a really interesting, different type of superhero show. And so I'm excited by both of those things way more than I would ever be excited about this, because it just feels like this is a generic spy show, and I don't really get too much into what's the threat of the show, what's happening. It's just, I'm like, ooh, I get to learn about Sam's sister for no reason, and it's like, cool. I get you want to show me stuff about these characters, but at least show me something that's interesting and that I would actually want to know. Like, I don't know. It's just an interesting kind of show, but it's an interesting thing to think about. But I think maybe if this show had come out in different circumstances, maybe I'd like it a bit more. But I still don't think I would. I think this show is kind of the embodiment of what my problems are with the Marvel movies, is that people get really excited about them, and I watch them, and I'm like, this is fine. I don't get why you all were talking about it so much, because it's not that different or interesting. I wanted something more unique, and this show wasn't that, unfortunately. So, yeah, let me know your thoughts, like, share, and subscribe, do all that.